When it comes to the Italian mafia, the shadows of New York, leather gloves, cigars, and a cold gaze from under a hat immediately come to mind. For decades, the mafia wasn't just organized crime, it became a part of the American cultural code, inspiring cinema, literature, and hip-hop. This dark aesthetic, soaked in codes of honor, betrayal, blood, and power, found its way into the minds of the new generation of street poets, rappers, for whom the gangster lifestyle is far from an empty phrase. But how did a symbol of fear and violence from Italy become a symbol of style and influence in hip-hop? Gangster movies and shows like The Godfather and The Sopranos became the Bible for an entire generation of artists. Their lyrics mention Silvio Dante, Tony Montana, Al Capone. They've become archetypes rappers compare themselves to. When you mention the Italian Mafia, the Sicilian Cosa Nostra, and Neapolitan Camorra immediately come to mind thanks to their portrayal in films and literature. However, there's another far less known but no less powerful criminal network in Italy, the Ndrangheta. Today we'll talk about it in detail and also explore how Italian organized crime influenced hip-hop in the past and continues to do so today. So, let's get started. But before we start, a quick announcement. Our project team is looking for content creators. If you keep up with the news and know your way around the rap industry in the United States, and if you can write engagingly, get in touch with us via the email listed in the video description. We'd love to have you join our team. Payment details will be discussed privately. On August 15, 2007, 6 bodies were found outside an Italian restaurant in Duisburg, Western Germany. All the victims were from Calabria. Each was executed with a shot to the head, and one had a scorched statue of a saint on him. Italian police soon joined the investigation, and it became clear this was the work of the Ndrangheta, the Calabrian Mafia. The Ndrangheta emerged long before the Duisburg events, and its expansion beyond its native Calabria dates back to the 1950s. But it was this murder that drew the attention of the European public to the issue, and it's a serious issue. As of 2014, the Ndrangheta was earning 53 billion euros and controlled about 80% of all drug trafficking in Europe. Once overshadowed by their neighbors from Naples and Sicily, today those giants are forced to buy drugs from the Calabrians, while the Ndrangheta wields significantly more influence. The Ndrangheta's homeland is a poor region in southern Italy. In antiquity, this area was colonized by the Greeks, which is why it's believed that Ndrangheta comes from a Greek word that can be translated as courage. However, there's another version of its etymology. The word Ndrangheta comes from the toponym Androgathia Reggio, the name of a place near the modern province of Reggio Calabria. According to a myth popular within the Ndrangheta, the criminal syndicate has aristocratic roots. Once upon a time, 3 Spanish knights sought revenge for their sister's dishonor. After killing a man, they were imprisoned for 29 years, 11 months, and 29 days. Their imprisonment turned out to be beneficial. During that time, they developed the rules of omerta, the foundation of all mafia codes. Moreover, the brothers founded 3 mafias. One created Cosa Nostra, another the Ndrangheta, and the third the Neapolitan Camorra. Despite the clearly mythical elements, this story shows us something crucial: the tight connection between the 3 mafias, the importance of honor, and the central role of omerta.
So with the Ndrangheta, it's said they're making 60 billion a year. The pandemic has made the Ndrangheta stronger. The Ndrangheta will have had a big influence on buying failing businesses or forcing the owners out of a business and taking over it. There's many people that were actually, we're going to close the shops, close businesses. But once they are involved, they own you. The wealth is divided with what each family does. You can't have one family do a lot less and be entitled to the same amount of money. When my family started on the streets, tobacco smuggling and all sorts, we were going to open up travel agents as well. We had a leather factory. Anything that's through a legitimate company, we invested everywhere that you could, especially to clean the money.
The city of Reggio Calabria is the stronghold of the Ndrangheta. According to reports from Italian anti-mafia organizations, there are as many as 73 branches, or Ndrin, operating in Reggio Calabria alone, and 136 in the region as a whole. Ndrino is the smallest unit of the Ndrangheta, its foundation, its atom. It usually consists of members of one family and enjoys a certain level of independence each. Each Ndrina controls a designated territory and is headed by a capubastuni. Interestingly, a woman can fill this role, but only if her husband, the capubastuni, was killed or arrested. These small criminal atoms have spread not only throughout all regions of Italy, but also to countries where Italian immigrants have settled, primarily Canada, Australia, and Germany. Here's what former gang members say about the mafia organization's resilience. Quote, "The Ndrangheta has infiltrated everywhere, but its head remains in the province of Reggio Calabria. Its mother will always be there. The real strength of the Ndrangheta lies in its ability to adapt. It only takes 2 or 3 people to start an Ndrina. At first, they'll have a certain level of autonomy, they can experiment with different criminal and business models, align with local crime groups, choose their development strategy. But once the business picks up, there's nowhere to run. When the number of Ndrine in a certain area increases, they form a locale. A locale typically has at least 49 members and is controlled by a head of the locale, who is assisted by an accountant and a capo crimin, the one who organizes murders, kidnappings, and other necessary things. There's also the position of Mastro de Giornata. He oversees what's happening in the area under control and helps members of a locale stay in constant contact with one another. The locale helps the Ndrine coordinate and avoid internal conflicts and feuds. The absence of a strict vertical hierarchy has allowed the Ndrangheta to better adapt and successfully colonize new territories, but it also led to various clan wars, so-called faide. Faide are not just about business but also about honor, which is why they can last for years. Apart from usual faide, 2 full-scale wars are noted. The first happened in 1974 and resulted in 300 deaths, and the second in 1985, taking around 500 lives. Since blood relations are the foundation of the Ndrangheta, dynastic marriages are not only a way to unite families but also a symbolic gesture marking the end of a faida. To stop conflicts between clans, Calabria was divided into 3 territories in 1991: La Piana, La Montagna, and La Città. A new structural unit, the Crimin, was created. The Crimin is a commission made up of high-ranking members of the Ndrangheta. Like any locale, it has its own leader, who is elected for a specific term. The Crimin's head's decision is law for all Ndrangheta members, but even so, faide continue to this day. The last known war ended in 2013 and lasted 5 years. 9 families took part, 25 people were killed, and it ended largely thanks to a series of police operations.
So the Ndrangheta have such a reputation of being feared because of the violence being used in the past. But there are rules: you don't touch women, you don't touch children, you don't touch the elderly. Just stay in your lane and do your job and not trample on anybody else's territory. One clan can't take out another member of another clan. It doesn't work that way. It's much more to do with where that killing is going to take place and whose territory that's in. Well, it happened with my family that a Gomorrah guy came and asked for permission to kill someone that was on our patch, my nonna and my father's. If they said no, it could have led us to war with the Gomorrah. Or if we reciprocated, needed that help in the future, they could have said no. So the law, l'omertà, is a law of silence, where you just don't speak. You just do not talk about it. I was arrested and I've never spoken about anything. People say because I wrote the book, are you not scared of repercussions? I said no, because I spoke of things that were in our trial and things I did myself.
The Ndrangheta comes from the poorest region in Italy, and money has always been its top priority, which is why they were willing to do anything and work with anyone. The level of cooperation between the Ndrangheta and other Italian mafias is extremely high. There are known cases where members of the Camorra and Cosa Nostra were also members of the Ndrangheta, and vice versa. However, their collaboration with foreign criminal groups, especially Colombians, turned out to be even more active. According to journalist Roberto Saviano, sentenced to death by the Camorra, it was the Ndrangheta members who were the first to trade directly with Colombian drug cartels, which naturally made it possible to supply drugs from Latin America to Europe at low prices. This was largely thanks to Roberto Panunzi, also known as the Italian Pablo Escobar. Panunzi is a native of Calabria and a protege of Antonio Macri himself, the legendary head of the Macri clan, who had a strong influence on the development of the Ndrangheta in Canada. He managed to establish family ties with the famous Sedeno group as well as Colombian drug traffickers, enabling the Ndrangheta to ship drugs by the ton from Colombia and do business with the infamous Medellin cartel. Even after the fall of the Medellin cartel, nothing changed. Ndrangheta simply switched to smaller cartels in Colombia and a major Mexican supplier, Los Zetas. In the early 2000s, they even collaborated with the right-wing Christian terrorist group Autodefensas Unidas de Colombia, which supplied the Calabrians with no less than 8 tons of drugs. Cases of cooperation with authorities in the Ndrangheta are extremely rare, first because of blood ties, and second because rituals and oaths play a crucial role in the organization. During initiation, a future member swears an oath to serve their Ndrina faithfully until death. In the Ndrangheta, it's a lifetime commitment. That's precisely why Colombian cartels chose the Calabrians to supply drugs to Europe. They could be trusted. Although drugs make up the majority of the Calabrians' budget, they are not the only thing of interest to the powerful. In Ndrangheta, they turned out to be savvy businessmen and constantly invest capital into real estate, small businesses, and even shares of major corporations. Another interesting feature is the involvement of the Ndrangheta in politics, as it is precisely this that allows them to win important tenders and direct the budget where they want. In southern Italy, where the mafia has historically had a strong presence in political life, this issue was excellently described by Robert Putnam in his famous study Making Democracy Work: Civic Traditions in Modern Italy. But the 'Ndrangheta went far beyond the south and is thriving even in regions where the American researcher believed there was a sufficient concentration of social capital. In 1991, a law was passed in Italy that allowed for the suppression of mafia infiltration into various local administrations. Thanks to this law, from 1991 to 2013, more than 58 administrations in different Italian cities were dissolved. Mostly these were town councils of small cities in Calabria, but similar cases were recorded in Piedmont, Lombardy, and Liguria. In the 1970s, it was decided to create an elite organization within the Calabrian Mafia. It is called La Santa and consists exclusively of individuals with the rank of Santisti. Initially, their maximum number did not exceed 33, and in order to obtain this rank, one had to wait for someone's death, but later this restriction was lifted. Santisti, even after initiation, do not lose connection with their Indrina. However, in the case of conflicting interests, they always side with the Holy One. Santisti don't do the dirty work, they build connections and engage in intellectual labor, and their rituals differ significantly from the standard Ndrangheta rites, resembling more the ceremonies of Freemasonry. These rituals are just a part of something greater. La Santa was indeed closely cooperating with Freemasons, and many Santisti were members of various lodges. And this isn't a myth, but an objective reality, confirmed by court documents and police reports. Today, this all might seem strange or even funny, but let us remind you that the organization was created in the 70s, a time when Italy was torn apart by red and black terrorism, and part of the political and military elite belonged to Masonic lodges. Such lodges, for example, included no fewer than 44 members of parliament, 22 armed forces generals, and 12 carabinieri generals, and one such organization was involved in the Borghese military coup, which was supposed to take place in 1970. Thus, by infiltrating Masonic lodges and diving into strange rituals, La Santa was merely attempting to reach the highest levels of power, dissolve into it, and become completely untouchable. Both La Santa and regular members of the Ndrangheta have identifying marks. Here's how members of this gang describe them themselves.
This is the Rose of the Winds. It signifies that the 'Ndrangheta is present all over the world. The 'Ndrangheta is a seed which we sow in all winds. All over the whole world there are accomplices, representatives. The butterfly means that you must remain humble, like a butterfly. Not shy, but never arrogant. There it says, as long as I live, I shall not fall in the mud. That means I will never dishonor. It means that I'll never betray.
As we've already said, the Italian mafia easily reproduces itself. From immigrants in various countries of Europe and America, in the United States, the Italian mafia even managed to achieve far more notoriety than anywhere else. Over the last 40 years, the mafia has deeply embedded itself into all areas of American life, and pop culture was no exception. Hollywood literally fell in love with gangsters, and in the early years of American cinema, countless screen adaptations of criminal life hit the screens. The classic films of those years also influenced hip-hop. One of the first gangster hits was the 1931 film The Public Enemy. The hip-hop group Public Enemy was named in honor of this work. Another significant film from that era was Scarface, 1932, which was partly based on the life of Al Capone. In 1983, a remake of the same name was released, in which Al Pacino played the Cuban gangster Tony Montana. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a rapper who hasn't seen the 80s version. Over the next decades, several culturally significant films about the mafia emerged. One of the most important was Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, which introduced the world to the young actor Ray Liotta. And of course, we cannot ignore the series The Sopranos. This legendary work is still being honored by rappers in tracks and even entire albums.
In my hood, I was the baby boy like Lil Jody. Bossed up now, I tell them when to go like I'm E40.
But that's all about cinema. In the real world of organized crime, the mafia's power gradually faded. However, in hip-hop, the mafioso lifestyle remained the standard by which success was measured. Whether it was the early Italian gangsters or more modern icons like Tony Montana from Scarface, gangsters were heroes to rappers. In 1992, just as NWA popularized the genre called gangster rap, the last mafia kingpin John Gotti faced a whole series of charges. He was testified against by Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano. Thus, a former partner turned into a snitch. He shamelessly and publicly spat on the omerta, the mafia's code of honor. From that moment on, it was better to speak of the Mafia's greatness only in a fictional context. Still, hip-hop groups continue to imitate the Cosa Nostra. For instance, Wu-Tang Clan once dubbed themselves Wu Gambinos, adopting extra nicknames based on the names of old-time mobsters. Snoop Dogg's second album was called The Dogfather in honor of the Godfather. Nas's music video for Street Dreams is a 4-minute homage to Scorsese's gangster film Casino, and hip-hop producer Irving Lorenzo took the nickname Irv Gotti and named his company Murder Incorporated after the syndicate once associated with Bugsy Siegel.
My man put me up for the share, 1/4 of a square, headed for Delaware with one.
The influence of the Italian Mafia on hip-hop went much deeper than just superficial comparisons with gangsters. For many rap artists, the Mafia became not just a symbol of power and control, but also a metaphor for survival, brotherhood, and the street code. One of the most striking examples is the group 3-6 Mafia from Memphis. They directly put the word Mafia in their name to emphasize unity, loyalty, and a sense of family within the crew. These values, though rooted in the criminal world, formed the foundation for many street collectives in rap. The rapper Capone from the New York duo Capone and Noriega chose his stage name in honor of Al Capone, one of the most famous mobsters of the 20th century. His partner Noriega also didn't get his name by chance. Manuel Noriega was infamous for drug trafficking and violence. For the audience, these aren't just stage personas, they are signals that the artists know the dark side of the streets firsthand. Lil' Kim, for example, not only titled her album La Bella Mafia, but also made it a manifesto of female power in the gangster world. This release went platinum and secured her status on par with men in the industry. We shouldn't forget her participation in Junior Mafia, a group created under the wing of the notorious B.I.G.
Black Barbie dressed in Bulgari.
Even giants like Jay-Z used Mafia aesthetics in their projects. His album American Gangster, inspired by Ridley Scott's film, became a full homage to street power and criminal hierarchy culture. In his tracks, Jay-Z often references Frank Sinatra as a symbol of elegant danger.
Speech. First of all, I want to thank my connect, the most important person with all.
And Scarface from Houston chose a pseudonym, directly referencing Tony Montana, an image that became the embodiment of ambition, cruelty, and ruthless ascent to the top. All this shows the Mafia cult, though it originated in the Italian underworld, became deeply rooted in the street culture of hip-hop, becoming an integral part of the genre's language, aesthetics, and symbolism.
He greets his father with his hands up, rehabilitated slightly.
One could even say that a whole subgenre of gangster rap emerged, mafioso rap. Mafioso rap is a subgenre of hardcore hip-hop founded by Kool G Rap in the late 1980s. East Coast mafioso rap was partially a response to gangster rap and G-funk from the West Coast. It is characterized by references to famous mobsters and gangsters, racketeering and organized crime, specifically Sicilian mafia, Italo-American mafia, African-American crime groups, and Latin American drug cartels, as well as mafia themes. Although a significant portion of mafioso rap was gritty and street crime oriented, many artists in the subgenre focused on the luxurious, hedonistic, and materialistic side of the mobster lifestyle. Expensive drugs, elite cars, champagne, and semi-legal businesses are common themes in their lyrics. The genre went quiet for several years, but was revived in 1995 when Wu-Tang Clan member Raekwon released his cult solo album Only Built for Cuban Links. That same year saw the release of Doe or Die by AZ, and an album from Kool G Rap himself, which featured other mafioso rap figures including MF Grimm, Nas, and B-Non. These three albums brought the genre into the mainstream and inspired other East Coast rappers such as Jay-Z, the notorious B.I.G., Nas, and Diddy to incorporate the same themes into their own releases, Reasonable Doubt, Life After Death It Was Written, and No Way Out, respectively. By the late 1990s, mafioso rap and East Coast gangster rap had become especially popular. New albums in the spirit of mafioso rap appeared, such as Fishscale by Ghostface Killah, American Gangster by Jay-Z, Only Built for Cuban Links Part 2 by Raekwon, and Deeper Than Rap by Raekwon. Many artists such as Fabulous, Jadakiss, Jim Jones, and Cassidy remained popular thanks to lyrics about African-American organized crime and street trade.
I'm right in front of my front steps, thinking of a plan, looking like Raggedy Ann or throwing hand, kicking a...
But let's turn our attention to rappers from Italy itself, who today are directly addressing how their lives and careers are intertwined with organized crime. Italian rapper Salvatore Bocchetti, also known as Real, grew up in the suburbs of Naples, Italy, in one of the city's rougher neighborhoods. It was on the streets of Quarto, fighting to survive, that Real fell in love with rap, a genre that became his most direct way to express the raw, unfiltered struggle that would otherwise be too emotionally heavy to convey. One brother runs abroad so he won't get arrested. Two brothers hate each other over money, women, substances. "I'm tired of seeing another brother die," raps Real. These tragedies carry a clearly personal weight tied to his own teenage experience. Real's music is part of a new wave of European rappers who, while processing the trauma of their lives, find an outlet in music. Last year, the most streamed artists in France, Germany, and Italy were all rappers. Real started making music just 4 years ago. He's 25 years old and has already released 10 tracks that have earned more than 3 million plays on Spotify, entirely through his own resources. Rap music isn't just dominating the charts. According to some critics, it's literally influencing the minds of the youth. The genre's hard and straightforward style has split Italians into two camps. Some believe the lyrics point to the inner vulnerability and toughness of young people, while others accuse them of inciting violence. Cities like Naples are grappling with a serious problem of youth crime. Its rich cultural heritage is often overshadowed by violence and criminal activity: thefts, robberies, assaults, drug trafficking, vandalism, and murders. Teen gangs, known as baby gangs, are involved in both serious crimes and everyday bullying, harassment, and intimidation of peers, creating a vicious cycle in Italy's underprivileged areas. Investigations have repeatedly shown how the culture and methods of the Camorra, the Neapolitan mafia, permeate these territories. In one day you can make as much from selling substances as you would in a month of legal work, explains Real. Economic hardship fuels the mafia. Paradoxically, it fills its pockets and supports the growth of the shadow economy. According to an article from The Conversation, while the number of murders has decreased, the amount of seized property and businesses owned by the mafia has risen sharply, suggesting that a drop in violent crime does not mean crime itself is declining. When Real says that 7 of his friends and his father are in prison, he reflects on what their lives could have been, but reluctantly shares details. Instead, he says that his music is a mirror of a society that has failed its youth, who grew up without dreams. I tell him that it takes artistic honesty, using music as a means of self-expression and introspection, especially if it can reshape the mindset of kids just like him. In recent years, the drill genre has gained traction in Italy. Many criticize drill as a genre that promotes, glorifies, and profits from violence. However, the roots of hip-hop and its subgenres have always grown from the fusion of youth culture, political struggle, and the desire of artists to be heard in loudly disenfranchised communities and hostile environments from which they often emerge. From its modest origins in Chicago's housing projects in the early 2010s to the birth of a whole new sound in the United Kingdom by 2015, influenced by grime and trap, and to its spread in places like New York, Ghana, and Australia, drill has become one of the fastest-growing youth movements in the world. And Italian rapper RONDODASOSA is one of the latest artists to leave his mark on the international scene. Born in the San Siro neighborhood of Milan, RONDODASOSA's rise to fame has become a blueprint for many young Italian artists. After releasing a remix of the late Chicago drill rapper King Von's track Exposing Me under the title Face to Face, the song quickly became one of his biggest hits, bringing him recognition and attention to his craft. In 2020, he released his debut EP, Giovan Rondo, and his career has only gone up from there. A year later, Rondo began collaborating with well-known artists like Central C. He later appeared on the remix of Body by Tion Wayne and Russ Millions, and then teamed up again with Central C, this time for his own track, Eurovision. It was RONDODASOSA who created this viral clip that blew up all over TikTok a couple of years ago. Let's hear RONDODASOSA explain this clip himself.
They were talking about like spaghetti mafia.
Yeah.
Like, what is spaghetti mafia?
Everybody outside from Italy see the Italian like pizza, pasta, and this shit, but it is not like us. It's the stereotype, you know? Yeah. And I would say, fuck, I would put my spaghetti mafia shit in the song, and the shit go viral. In
2020, it was reported that Marie came under police scrutiny for jumping onto the hood of a police car in the San Siro district. On August 20th, 2021, he received a 2-year ban from public places issued by Milan police after a nightclub incident. He was prohibited from entering bars, clubs, and other public venues in the city. Here's what he says about his homeland.
Yeah, so like, if we're talking Italian, you know I've been to Italy, innit?
You never been in Italy?
I've been to Italy still.
Oh, right.
Last year I went to Milan.
Oh.
I was staying, like, you know, like Malpensa.
My city.
Yeah, that's your city, yeah?
Yeah.
You know where Malpensa is?
Yeah, the airport.
Yeah, that's where my hotel was, but I was going to Milan. You get me? So talk to us about being from Milan, bro. What's it like? What's it like there?
It's a crazy city, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, everything can happen, like, the vibes, everything's like,
I love my city, you know, but I'm too famous for staying in my city. Like, you know, a lot of bitch hate me, but
bitches hate you?
Yeah, bitches hate me.
Why do they hate you?
Cause I'm young and rich, you know.
Them ones there. Well, I was gonna say another thing that we always used to hear about, from other countries, like the mafia. Yeah. Everyone used to talk about the mafia.
Yeah.
And it's like, so like, you see, like in Italy, what's it like? Cause when I went over there, like, it's like everyone that I met, like, it was like they was part of the mafia, bro. Everyone just like had like that aura, had that kind of energy around them, bro.
Yeah.
So like, is it true? Like, is the things that they say about the mafia true first thing first, bro? Or is it kind of like just hyped up?
No.
It's true.
It's not hyped up, bro.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
The mafia, they're the real deal. Did they run the country? Swear down. Bro, they run like. Cause I remember like I got in like a taxi, and then someone told me that like a lot of like the taxis in like northern Italy and southern France are run by the mafia and stuff like that. That's what they be saying.
Yeah, probably.
Probably, yeah. Interesting stuff. They got the Italian mafia.
Yeah.
They got the Italian mafia stuff. I'm guessing you must have grown up watching all those mafia movies, innit?
Yeah.
What's your favorite one?
Obviously Scarface, bro.
Scarface.
It's not Italian, but it's my favorite one.
You know, I've never watched a mafia movie in my life, innit?
Oh, really?
Never
you
watched
need
one.
to see that shit, bro.
Which one? Apart from Scarface, which one would you recommend for me?
Goodfellas.
Which one? The Fellas? Goodfellas. Oh, Goodfellas.
All this, a clip from another interview.
Hey, I just wanted to ask, because you mentioned the guns.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of guns in Italy, or are they hard to get your hands on?
Yeah, we got a lot of guns, but they're not legal.
They're not?
No, they're not legal. So a lot of people got the knife things, like UK.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of guns in Italy, but it's not legal. I can't really speak on that, but if you really got good money or a good lawyer, you can get out in 2-3 hours, but you gotta wait till your court day.
A lot of people in America kind of laugh at the idea of people in England having knives and shit, but then I seen some videos of dudes like in the hood in England fighting with knives, and they have the craziest fucking knives ever, and they're not scared to slash the fuck out of each other. Like, I have never seen this kind of shit in America in some of these videos.
Me personally, I think like the knife is really worse than a gun. But imagine like some people like log at UK, but imagine if in some place the guns is legal, so everybody can make it. But imagine in Italy, nobody can have the gun, but everybody can have a gun. And, you know, it's like more risk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In January 2023, his associate rapper Baby Gang was arrested, along with 2 other rappers in connection with 4 robberies committed in Milan and Sondrio. It was suspected that they were the ones behind these crimes. In April, he was charged with resisting arrest after assaulting 2 police officers and fleeing the scene of a stop. To sum it up, crime doesn't just surround these artists, it shapes them as people. And yet against all odds, it is through music that they find a path to millions of listeners and a possible road to redemption. Rap for them is not entertainment, it's a way to live, to breathe and to speak. It's their only shot at being heard. Italy, with its long history of mafia structures, is now producing a new generation of musical gangsters. But these gangsters aren't copies of the Sopranos or Cosa Nostra. Often they're children of immigrants, children of the ghettos, children of the streets. And instead of picking up weapons, they grab the microphone, maybe not always in the name of peace, but certainly in the name of truth. That's all for now. What do you think about the connection between hip-hop and the Italian mafia? Leave your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Peace out.